Well, our spotlight subject of the day, it all started with one brutally honest leave mail. A young employee wrote to his boss saying he just had a breakup, couldn't focus and needed time off. The boss said yes, then shared it online, and that one screenshot split the internet. Some called it refreshing honesty, others said it was way too personal for work. Some even suspected hidden agenda for virality. But underneath the noise, it hit something real. How much emotion belongs in a workplace? Because that's the larger debate right now. One side says work is work, keep emotions out, keep them aside, keep discipline in. The other side says mental health is real, boundaries matter, respect has to go both ways. The Gen Z want flexibility, feedback and purpose, not attendance trophies and burnout badges. But many bosses miss the old ways, a quieter office, clearer hierarchies, fewer feelings, more deadlines, the comfort of predictability basically. So every workplace fight has moved online now. LinkedIn threads, Slack leaks, even exit rants on Instagram. Workplaces have become open tabs in a browser that never closes. Many say that the idea of professional is being changed. Speaking up isn't rebellion anymore. Taking a break doesn't mean you're broken. But it's also fair to say Gen Z isn't perfect. They talk transparency but skip accountability. They call out bosses while ghosting their own teams. They want freedom without the follow-through. So maybe the truth sits somewhere in the messy middle. And because the real question is this, can offices find the middle ground where honesty doesn't look like oversharing, discipline doesn't feel like control, where human beings and being human is at the center. It's not seen as weakness. It's just normal. That's how you're going to be looked at when you join your workplace. So let's take that conversation forward. First up, joining us is Jasveer Singh, co-founder and CEO of Not Dating, the boss who approved that now famous breakup leave and unintentionally set off this national debate. Jasveer, good morning. Thank you for being with us here on the Breakfast Club. Jasveer, first up, tell us what really happened.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Tell us what happened. This whole conversation is out there on the internet, being spoken of, being shared. A lot of reactions coming in and mixed reactions at that. What really was the story here? Take us all the way back.
So I think, so for us, this was not something very, you can say surprising, because in any which way in our organization, like, so the average age is like 22 or 23. So mostly Gen Z is working, right? And what I noticed is they don't have like any kind of fears. So we have like a culture to talk about any kind of stuff because we are running a dating apps. So we had like a conversation mostly like relationship, all these stuff is very common for us. It's not something like, anyone feel uncomfortable about all these, conversations. So first thing that I noticed, like for us, it was not like very, you can say surprising so-called that you got a breakup mail and then you basically you approve the leave. For us was like, okay, it's okay. It's
That's
not
the
a big
work
deal
culture you're maintaining. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Jasveer?
So yeah, that we were not surprised by the way. Like when I shared online and then I got to know like, okay, this is like a big deal that people are talking about good thing, bad thing, Gen Z, millennial, XYZ, like thousands of things that people are talking about. But for us, it was not something like which was like very surprising.
Did you have to at any point give in to some sort of pressure? Does it come across as pressure, especially because you own a dating app, because you're working on this whole concept, not taking a breakup? Well, did that decision come from any pressure that you felt in that moment?
Not really. We, it's not about, because think about it. Humans don't have two brains, right? If somebody is going through something like bad in their life, and you are constantly thinking the workplace they go and they simultaneously they're going to change their brain. That's not going to happen, right? They have the same brain is going to dealing with the breakup and the work, right? So if somebody is not able to focus on a work, and this is going to reflect in a work also, right? If like something is personally they have not going through. So your question is basically that we were like, because we are running a dating apps, because of that we are giving leaving? No. So we
No, because there
have
are a lot of comments. A lot of people have come in for praises.
yeah.
They've said that this model needs to be copied pan-India, cross work cultures, no matter how small or big your team is. But there are those who've also said that this perfectly fits well for a dating app. The virality of it is what is being spoken of, and then they're coming in with a little bit of criticism. What is your message to
No,
all of them?
I know. Like whenever you say something that there is a whole army to talk about, like in online. So people will say that okay, this might be a planned and stuff like that. There was nothing as such like
Okay.
you can't plan such kind of stuff like where you plan and one day you wake up and you get like a 15 million views on Twitter. That's not practically possible. If if this is possible, then like everyone can do such kind of stuff and then every single day they'll become a news. No, that's not the reality. But the reality was that there was a genuine mail, and then people basically we were aware, like if you read the mail line to line, the person who said that today I'm not coming to office. That means this is something serious, na person, because if the person is saying today I'm not coming to office and I need leave at least from like 5 to 7 days or 10 days. I immediately thought, I said, okay, you don't need to come office. You first take break and come out of it, because I strongly believe, by the way, like because we are running a
What if
dating
you
app also.
had an immediate deadline that you had to meet, that this person was crucial to, he was playing a crucial part in meeting that deadline? What would you do in that situation?
So in that case, like maybe we can say in that time, like okay, you can take a 1 or 2 hours in a day just for a focus in a certain immediate time. But I'm not the one who is going to say like okay, you just need to focus like an entire day. That's not going to happen. Like
So you would accommodate their well-being no matter what, is what you're saying. Jasveer, before we let you go, I have one very important question for you. Now you're leading a team of 27 people. Do you think being this emotionally understanding as a team leader is also possible when one is leading a team of, let's say, 100, 200, more than that? Do you think it's practical?
Oh, it's nothing to do with the like 20, 30, 100, 200 or 2000. Like it can replicate it anywhere. And let me tell you one more thing, like this might be surprising for you. So you can't put pressure to somebody's in today's era, like saying that you have to, if somebody is, applying for a leave and you're saying that I can't approve, they'll not work, they'll leave. Because see, what's happening right now is things are changing in a very different pace. For example, if you go to our parents' generation or grandparents' generation, that people are working like on an average like 10 years or 15 years in a one company. And then the MNC and basically the IT boom, and then you see that 5 to 7 years, and see today like average working maybe like 3 to 4 years maximum. And so that time is going to reduce over the period of time. Maybe like maybe in after like 2 to 3 decades we might be debating if there is a full-time job exist or not, because maybe the culture moved to completely on a freelancing and all. Because ultimately you can't put pressure on somebody's to because you are a boss or you are a manager. So that culture has gone now. Like if a company is not adopting, let me tell you very clearly,
are you saying you're not in a position as a leader anymore to dictate terms or to put conditions on your team members?
No, you can put a conditions, but you cannot put a condition in such a way where you're saying I can't approve because previously my boss has not given me a leave, so that I'm not going to give you. So the culture is not going to work like millennial is not giving to Gen Z ko bhi nahi milega, to wo nahi hoga. That's not going to work, I'm sure.
Okay, every generation comes with its own understanding of how they want to embrace the work culture. They want to keep up with it. They want some changes to it, and that's perhaps what's happening here as well. Thank you so much, Jasveer, for sharing your story and telling us all about what we're seeing on the internet for the last so many days. We want to take this conversation forward, zoom out a little bit. Joining us this morning is also Aparna Jain, Executive Leadership Coach and founder of Zebraa Works, alongside Rajneesh Singh, CEO of SimplyHR. Good morning to the both of you. Thank you so much for being with us. Aparna, I want to begin with you. You've heard that conversation. Now you know a little bit of a background to what's really happened here. Your thoughts, do you then think traditional Indian workplaces, which have people in thousands working for them, can truly normalize these conversations around emotions, around vulnerability, so on and so forth?
Morning, Crispin. Thank you for having me. I was listening to Jasveer, and it's so sweet because he's so idealistic and he's young and he's, full of these, I want to make this perfect workplace. But there were certain things that he said which really struck me. One was, if you don't accommodate these people, they will leave. And that is the truth about young companies, right? So when I work with young companies, I know this is it. People leave for 500 rupees a month, people leave for 1,000 rupees a month, right? People leave because they're just not feeling it, so all these reasons. They use language which we are not used to hearing, right? So for example, I saw somebody's Instagram story yesterday where she was interviewing somebody, and she said, "Why did you leave your earlier company?" And she said, the person said it was not my vibe.
Yeah.
All right. And she was like, "I can't believe people are using this kind of language." But it's just the language that has changed. In perhaps in my generation, we would have said, "Oh, it didn't suit me," or, the culture was not appropriate. We would just use formal language to say the same thing. But I think the thing with young companies is that they can't hire easily. People will not come to a young company because they're worried about their future. When they come to the young company has to retain them. So they will do a lot more to keep people. When you go to a company which has 30,000 employees, it's impossible to have the same kind of emotional affinity with employees. It's just impossible. Also, when you interview people and you say, "What are you great at?" all employees say, "We're very committed. We will do whatever it requires. We are committed to the passion and the vision of this company." And then suddenly they're having all these issues, all right, which they never talk about. So in a larger company where they hold the power and they can get number of employees to come and work for them, I don't think this will play out. Is there a need for empathy in the workplace? 100%. Is this scalable? Never.
Rajeshji, who would have thought, right? There was a time that you could not even think of writing a mail to your boss saying that I've had a breakup and I need some time off. Apart from, let's say, emergency situations, including a health problem or, a death in the family, none of these reasons were acceptable. One would not even think of it at any point in time that you can reach a place of even gathering the strength to write a mail like this to your boss. What do you think has changed overall? And do you think this is also being seen in older companies, for instance, a strength of, let's say, 20, 30,000? Do you think this model, if not is happening right now, can happen in a few years from now?
Thank you for having me. I was listening to Jasveer and also Aparna, and I think both of them made their own, they took sides in a way on the whole matter. And naturally, me coming from a different generation completely, this is definitely news to people like us. But I do recall a company like N18G, which about 2 decades ago had introduced something called a dating allowance. And so there was some kind of a build-up that was happening, if you may really ask me. This is pretty interesting. It definitely reflects the shift that is happening at the workplace. And largely from a generation which is quite upfront, which is quite forthcoming. They can be quite demanding. My sense of the situation is that because it's a small company, I'm assuming this resource of Jasveer could be a very critical resource, and that's why probably he just kind of accepted. And I was reading it's a leave for almost 10 days, right? Now, 10 days leave is unthinkable, honestly. I mean, people are going to ask you 20 questions. I mean, how have you really decided that in 10 days' time, you will be emotionally fine? So that itself is a very tricky factor. And I fully agree with Aparna that, can it be scaled? Larger businesses, can they do this? It's really up for a debate because it can set precedent. Jasveer tomorrow can be flooded by another 5 such requests.
Yeah.
And I'm sure because it's become such a news, I'm sure in his firm.
So that's still
20.
manageable if he's leading a team of 27. What do you do when you're leading a team of, let's say, 40, 50, 100?
Absolutely.
How many people and their emotional needs are you going to give into? And how are you then assured of the fact that you're not going to be facing allegations of favoritism? Because how do you pick right from wrong? So as a leader, how do you deal with that challenge, sir?
Yeah, so that's why it is very, very critical. Look, any leave application historically, I mean, I see this as a very impulsive decision on part of the founder, whether he was, and like he said, he didn't know that this will blow up. But because it is blown up now, but I don't think this is a prescription for leaders to be following, honestly. You got to be still very judicious. Yeah, of course, you got to be mindful. There's a lot of talk about mindfulness, being sensitive. I think those are the messages people like us are being given, that if you got to handle this lot, this is the way to approach them. But you also can't be going just overboard. You got to be mindful what the other 25 people in the team are going to take this decision as. What is it? End of the day, I believe that organizations do run in a slightly structured manner. Not that you make it very watertight. I think gone are those days where probably we would have been in an era where policies were there for almost 10 years, 15 years. You wouldn't even touch any policy. But I think today's time, of course, you got to be super dynamic, very flexible. You got to be moving with the times. This would definitely trigger discussions, but will it really make major shifts at the workplace? I doubt it very much. People are going to take it in a very, very measured manner. And really,
how do you strike that balance between being empathetical and also ensuring performance? I think that's the biggest challenge for any leader, for anyone who's dealing with this younger generation. Aparna, you've spoken vocally about women's rights at workplace. What does these kind of stories do to your mind? Somebody who's seen women fight for their rights, ask for leaves, and for very legitimate reasons. And to an extent that may have not been allowed. And then you have this whole generation, come forth with this demand, and you're not left with an option. What do you think the Gen Z are doing or bringing to the table that is putting them in this position?
So I think, to begin with, I think women have always had mental health issues in terms of the emotional burden they face. Okay, they always have had two jobs. One is at home, one is at work. Even during COVID, we know for a fact, so many companies reported back that when it came to remote working, women wanted to come back to the workplace because when they were at home, they were not considered serious workers. So they were still called to help in the kitchen. They were still called for, childcare. They were still called for elder care. And I think that women, whenever they have asked for leave in the workplace, like I have to go because my in-law is sick and I have to go, bosses are always like raising their eyebrows, right? I'll tell you a really interesting story that, I know somebody who went to their boss for period leave because she was having a bad time. And I also know that there are many women who say that there's no such thing as period leave. I've had periods all my life and I've never had these issues, but not every body is the same, and I think we need to recognize that. So there are some women who have very severe aches, so she wanted to take time off and go home, and her boss made a face and kind of like mumbled under his breath and went out of the office and said things to the team. And then of course came Karwa Chauth and everybody wanted to go home early for Karwa Chauth, and the boss was more than happy. Oh yes, please go, because it's such a patriarchal mindset that anything that is great for the man is great for the workplace. All right, so I was really annoyed that they weren't able to see it from a woman's lens. I think what Gen Z is doing is that they're making mental health legitimate, and I think it's being taken into seriousness only because men are part of the conversation. And I think that's what it's doing. The minute men are part of the conversation and they're feeling emotional stress and they're feeling mental health pressure, then suddenly all mental health is taken seriously. For years, women have been talking about it. We've never been taken seriously. So when it becomes mainstream is when men get involved in it.
Do you believe, Aparna, then corporate policies need to evolve to accommodate emotional well-being, mental health, all of these issues, and sooner or later this will have to be done, and it will have to be done at a policy level?
And there are lots of companies that are doing it at a policy level, all right? But for example, I think lots of people are offering counseling. They have a panel of psychologists, counselors, etc. that people can reach out to. They are offering mental health breaks. But the thing is, as you scale up and as you become a 30,000, 50,000, 2 lakh company, a big company like that, what are you going to give leave for? Are you going to give leave for breakups? Never. I can tell you it will never happen in a large company. Okay? Will you give leave for, like, for example, elder care? Yes, you should. Maternity, of course you should. having a bad health day, yes. If you're having a really bad time dealing with something at work or dealing with something at home, yes. I mean, I know a boss we had a colleague whose mother-in-law died and she went for 3 days. And on the fourth day, my boss said, well, the mother-in-law's dead, just tell her to come back to work now. That absolute lack of empathy, right? You don't know what's going on in that person's house. Will companies do something about it? Yes, many companies already are. Will they be able to replicate what Jasveer has done? Absolutely not. It's not even thinkable. Like, you cannot even imagine 10 days leave for a breakup. I'll have 6 breakups a year. What's going to happen then? Am I supposed to learn from every breakup and take 1 day less? It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And I think social media posts, virality kind of adds to the pressure, kind of adds to the problem. Like we've been discussing, every time your boss says no, you think you are right in posting that on social media, garnering responses, putting that extra pressure on your boss. Rajneesh, how do you then cope with all this social media burden as a leader that you're going to have to face going forward?
Yeah, I mean, look, social media is a double-edged sword, right? It can hit you both ways. I mean, it can definitely bring you instant fame, like it has in this whole case, and it's become such a popular thing to be discussed. But at the same time, it can also burn you in so many ways. I do know a lot of, especially again, young startup founders at times have fumbled in handling certain situations at work, and which have literally exploded on social media. So it is definitely in the times that we live in, again, for the leadership, it's very, very critical what you do, what you say. I think all that becomes very, very important as to how it is being seen by the team members in the organization. And so when you do decide something and then you are actually wanting to put it up on social media, I think one should be definitely thinking twice, thrice, and really think it as much as possible that what could be the repercussions. I think that again comes from the whole factor of being mindful.
But like Jasveer said, people are not afraid anymore of losing their jobs. So how do you threaten them even further? How do you take this forward? How do you tell them, step down your game, this is not cool, it's not going to work out for you, it's in fact going to have severe consequences? That's the challenge that comes with dealing with this generation. What I'm going to do is, interestingly, ask our producer to pull out a few screenshots, incidents that have gone viral on social media, and try and take in a word from Aparna and Rajneesh on what they make of it. This is a screenshot that you see on your screens on how an employee has been asked, why have you logged off before 6:30? So 6:30 was the log off time. You logged off before 6:30 and you're being questioned by your boss. The reply is, it's just 4 minutes, Namrata, I'm done with my tasks for the day. So that's the reaction that's coming from, let's say, the Gen Z in this case, is my assumption. You cannot do things as you like, even if you're done with your task. Your shift ends at 6:30 a.m. There were others as well who finished their task, but all of them logged out when their shift ended. Aparna, your thoughts here. Do you think we need to move away from these hell-bent rules of your log-in, log-out times, being very, very strict? You have to clock in those hours no matter what. It really doesn't come down to whether or not you've met your target before your shift comes to an end.
100%. I think these kinds of messages are silly. Okay, this is just control. I am the boss, you are the employee, and therefore you have to do what I say. This is rubbish. Okay, this burning the midnight oil is rubbish. All this is rubbish. You can do a job in 4 hours, do it and be done with it. You're meeting your targets, do it and be done with it. All this you have to see, you have to sit in front of me, I have to see you working is rubbish. So you will always have the employees, like we've seen those horrible videos of bank managers screaming on Zoom calls at employees, telling them that they haven't reached their target. They're all bursting blood vessels, etc. I can understand the pressure on them, but at the same time, I don't think you can, as a good leader, you will never pass this on to your team. You will take the pressure, reflect on what you've done badly. This is rubbish, this is control, this is a really bad leader who's writing this.
Okay. Rajneesh, we've also seen, and this I'm sure all of us must have seen happen sometime or the other in our careers, wherein you've been asked for proof of not keeping well. And that's another conversation that we'll just pull up, wherein the boss is asking for reasons, is asking for proof, a health certificate, for instance, which is okay to the extent that you need to submit your health certificate in case of a long leave. But if you fall sick on one fine day, if you're being asked for a proof in terms of a thermometer picture or more, do you think that's ridiculous or acceptable?
Yeah, so traditionally, again, having managed HR for so many organizations for so many years, and now working with so many clients of ours, these leaves definitely had a method behind it. When somebody thought about it, that, beyond 2 days of leave, you've got to submit a certificate. Somebody has died in your family. I mean, if there is a very long, extended request for a bereavement leave, for example, needed to be supported with whatever, a prayers meet post or whatever it is, just to support that request that was there. Even when I mentioned about the dating allowance, which NIIT brought in, there was a limit that people could spend. They had to submit the bill. So it was not an open kind of just a system out there, So it does. So now come to this case now. What can Jasveer ask for as an evidence or a proof that, there actually has been a breakup, and then, I'm going to sort it out in just about 10 days time. Just give me this break. I'm going up in the hills and I'll get my head right. And that's why, in such matters, it will be very difficult, honestly, to really put a finger as to how many days and how does one decide. And that's why I'm again repeating, I would call this decision a very impulsive decision, and perhaps this resource was very critical to Jasveer. Otherwise, I don't think anybody could be really giving such a leave just like that. And of course, such requests without any proper support, how do you really justify it?
Yeah. Okay, Aparna, we're going to cut the clutter and then wrap up this conversation. How do you think leaders of the day can then draw a line between empathy and accountability? So when do you give in? When do you draw the line? What are your thoughts there? Because this is one challenge every leader in current times is dealing with or is going to have to deal with sooner or later.
Look, there's no doubt empathy is important in the workplace. Things you can do to practice that is look people in the eye, ask them how they are, mean it as to how they are. But I do believe that is again not scalable. Supposing I really talk to you, or you're in my particular head office or whatever it is, and you're not an employee in another office, I'm speaking to you. I may be more empathetic towards you. I may listen to you a lot more. At the end of the day, humans are not infallible. We make mistakes. We are going to bring our biases in. We are going to, give leave to people we like and not give leave to people we don't like. There has to be a much more automated system for this. Trust is a very important thing. How do you build a culture of trust? So it's very tough. It's tough to scale up. It's a human emotion. AI is going to take over a lot of these jobs, and that's something on which we have to really focus on. Can AI actually manage how people take leave? What is it? Does it make sense? I'm sure at a certain point we can automate it to such an extent that they'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Do workplaces need to be more empathetic? Yes. Can it be scaled? I don't know.
Okay, very interesting. Rajeshri, lastly, to you, what do you think needs to be done? How do you propose these changes happen? The one thing which we've heard of when the work-life balance conversation happens is that India has not been able to do well in this one aspect. Do you think that's changing, and how much more needs to be done to bring in that kind of correct balance?
So I would look at it in two ways. One is that you are working in a very structured organization, and so therefore there is a log in, log out, and so we know when I come in, when I go out, which was the discussion which was happening earlier. But let us also understand that there could be situations, and the way we are perhaps growing at a very rapid pace, there could be requests at times from the management, from the leadership, that you've got to stretch a bit. The caveat being that such requests shouldn't become a habit, shouldn't become a regular thing. That is when the burnout starts happening for the employees. So the communication and not making it a habit is something that needs to be brought in a very clear manner. And that is where I think employees then really stretch when it is required to be stretched. They will work on the weekends also, right? I mean, we know such organizations where it is all about ownership. Jasveer's company, for example, just about such a small company, I'm sure they all love their company. They love Jasveer, they'll stretch out, they'll go beyond 10 p.m. and whatever. The key is that, and that is where you stitch up the beauty of empathy and accountability. It's about the way you really build the whole organization, and which is what Aparna touched about. The critical point is the kind of culture that you're bringing in, and culture definitely starts from the top. Your way of leading matters. So how you conduct yourself, how you yourself work. Do you yourself stretch, or you're partying and the team is slogging? There is a disconnect then there.
Okay.
So I think if accountability and empathy they can go hand in hand, and it boils down to the individual how he or she wants to do that.
Okay, we'll leave this conversation then on that very positive note. I hope all team leaders and all bosses are watching the Breakfast Club this morning. Thank you so much, Rajesh, Aparna, for joining us, for sharing those wonderful thoughts and for really decoding this changing phenomena for us. We had an